Hello and welcome to Appalachian Bonsai. Today's video is part of an ongoing series to discuss air layers. I hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be working on an air layer of this Trident Maple. I've been working on this maple for many years and even tried layering it one time. You can see the scar around the body and the belly here. And I'm trying to do this because I have a large reverse taper right there. My first attempts were not very successful, so let's try this again. What I have here is a box knife, and I'm going to be using it. It's nice and sharp, so just be careful you don't cut yourself. Cut a section about as wide as the tree is in diameter. The sharp knife is going to make for a clean cut. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting the cambium layer, which is the softer outer layer of the bark, down to the sapwood. The cambium layer transfers nutrients that are created from the leaves up in the branch area, down to the roots, which help create new roots. The sapwood, which is the inner white wood that you will see in a moment, is what's carrying nutrients from the roots up to the leaves and branches. By removing this cambium layer, we are removing the ability for the leaves at the top to provide nutrients to the roots at the bottom. We're going to call that root juice, for lack of a better term at this moment. Now the root juice is not getting to those roots at the bottom, but they're still providing nutrients to that area where it's cut. Well, what's it going to do? Well, it's going to create new roots, and that's the intention here, to create new roots at that cut. But we're not starving the branches and the leaves up top, because we're not cutting into the sapwood layer. The roots are still providing nutrients to the top of the tree, so our tree is able to thrive and produce new roots at the same time. When you're removing the cambium, make sure you remove all of the cambium. The cambium is a pathway from the top to the bottom, and if you leave any of it, that pathway remains open. We must close this process, so remove all the cambium as you can. Scrape it with a knife. I'm using a razor here as a final process, and then I'm going back and cleaning up my cuts to make sure they're nice and sharp and crisp and clean. Take sphagnum moss that has been soaking in water. You can add a root hormone if you'd like. Squeeze out the excess moisture and pack it around that cut. This sphagnum moss is going to make sure that that cut stays damp and doesn't dry out, but it's also going to provide a medium for which roots can grow into. Wrap the sphagnum moss and the tree with plastic. This plastic will prevent evaporation. It will also make sure that that sphagnum moss remains tight around that cut area. Rubber electrical tape is what I'm using here to ensure that the plastic stays on the tree as well as tight against that trunk. Finish it all off by wrapping in aluminum foil to protect the new roots from sunlight. So it's been a few months later, and now we're about to see what our root system looks like. I'm not sure what this is going to be here. There could be potential that I have no roots. Let's see what we got. Ooh. As much as I want to cut this down, I may have to re-wrap it back up again. So I'm going to do this a little careful like. Hush, dog. Hush. It's the reveal. Oh man. Can't tell if that's sphagnum moss or if it's roots. Got a root right here. Well, I got the one root here. There's bound to be more in there, but they're not filling up the whole bag. So I'm going to cover it back up. We'll check back again. Okay. It's all done up. Use this again to protect those new roots from sunlight. Roots like to grow in the dark. That's why they go in the ground. Ta-da! I'll see you in another month. So it's been a month and a half since we last looked at these roots. And I've taken a peek at them over the past several weeks. And I wanted to show you what I've seen and what I've concluded to do. There aren't many roots on this side, but So you can see this. I do have several roots starting to come through right here, and that's exciting. They're even starting to poke through the bottom of the bag. I don't know why it's on the back side not doing as well. It may be too damp, it may be too dry. We will see here pretty soon. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take off this layer of plastic and I'm going to replace it with this right here. This will be attached to the bottom of the tree and it will be filled with soil, and that will allow the roots to continue to grow without me disturbing them. So let's get in there and see what happens. Hot and humid out today, so it's not a bad time for me to at least be exposing the roots. Yeah, now you can start to see them. Isn't that pretty? Real pretty. I even got some roots started up here. Oh, I can't look. Hold on. It's really wet, and that may be the problem. Oh, I see a root or two. There's a root or two back here. And I think I was correct. These are roots right there. Just put that back on. And loosen a little bit of that up. Good to have it damp, but not wet. And I think wet was my problem. Let's attach this now. What I did is measure the diameter of the tree, mark the bottom of this container, and then made some slits where it would be larger and guide around that trunk. Then I split little section all the way up to the side so that I could open it and slide around the tree. This is not the only design. There are actually even other designs out there that you can purchase with a hinge on the side. It might make this a little bit easier, though it's slightly more expensive. I went ahead and drilled some holes, and now we can go ahead and put this on. So I plan on putting that just below where these root tips are. Isn't that pretty? All right. Being very careful not to break them. I can go and see if I can slide this on. Okay. So got this on. Now I just need to tie it off. It's not the prettiest thing, okay? I'm wrapping aluminum wire around the container to hold it together, and I'm using little smaller pieces of aluminum wire to hold the main aluminum wire. As mentioned before, this isn't the best design, but it still works for this purpose. I'm using my Coarse bonsai soil. It's the same that I use with my other plants, just with a little bit more pine bark to give it some extra moisture. And then I tease those roots out. Well, it looks like our boy's in a whole heap of trouble. Took a little bit, but I got it on there. And then what I did is I filled it with soil. I had to brace it up some to keep it to the level I wanted to. I wanted to make sure that the topsoil was well above where the root cut was, or where the cut I had made for the root system to grow. That way everything stays nice and damp. I'm going to give this a good water. I'm going to cover it in some spagna moss. That way the sun doesn't hit it and dry it out too badly. And we'll see here in another couple of months. Hopefully I'll have some roots poking out the sides. Stay tuned for the next video in this series. Like and subscribe because there is more to come. Thanks for watching.